After 4 years out here, I finally found my dream beach village in the Philippines, a little fishing town on the coast near Dumaguete that I now call home, and today I'm taking you right to it. Before I tell you how it went for me, it'd be great if you'd take a second to subscribe and hit that thumbs up. That way we stay in touch. And if you've spent one too many winters scraping ice off the windshield and wondering if there's a softer life out there, stay right here with me because this is exactly your video. Now let me pick you up right where I once stood. For about 30 years, I watched the same gray sky roll in every winter, same driveway, same shovel, same aching back at 60-something, wondering if a warmer, gentler life was really out there for a fellow my age, or if that was just something younger men got to have. Maybe you know that feeling in your own bones. You work your whole life, you raise the kids, you finally pay off the house, and then one gray afternoon you're standing at the window with your coffee going cold, watching the plow scrape by for the 100th time, and a quiet little voice asks, "Is this really it? Is this how the good years are supposed to feel?" I lived with that voice for a long while, and then one day I decided to answer it. I'll tell you straight, it's out there, and it's a lot closer than you think. 4 years ago, I did the thing I'd only ever daydreamed about. I stepped off the plane in Cebu, suitcase in hand, knees a little stiff from the flight, and the first thing that hit me was the warmth. Not the dry heat of a furnace, that soft, living warmth that wraps around you the second the doors open. Palm trees past the runway, a sea breeze I could already taste. I made my way south from there, down the coast, and every mile of it felt like shedding another gray winter off my shoulders. That drive south is something I'll never forget. Colorful jeepneys rattling past, packed with folks who smiled at the old American like they'd known me for years. Roadside stalls stacked with mangoes and bananas, the smell of them thick and sweet in the heat, kids waving from the doorways. By the time the ocean opened up on my right, that wide, glittering blue, I already felt something loosening in my chest that 30 winters had knotted up tight. But here's the part nobody tells you before the move. Finding the right place to live isn't about luck. It's about one question, and most folks forget to ask it. See, when we dream about this from back home, we ask the wrong thing. We ask, where's it pretty? We stare at postcards, turquoise water, white sand, a hammock strung between two palms, and the Philippines has all of that, believe me. But pretty isn't the question. The real one, the one that changes everything, is this. Where would I actually want to wake up every single morning? That question is the whole secret. Hold on to it, because that one question does something the pretty pictures never can. It moves you past the postcard and into real life, the morning routine, the walk to the market, the face of the neighbor across the road. It asks not what a place looks like in a photo, but what your ordinary Tuesday is going to feel like there 5 years from now. And that, my friend, is where a home is actually made, because I didn't ask it, not at first. My rookie year, I did exactly what I'm hoping to save you from. I chased the postcard spots. I'd see a gorgeous stretch of beach, feel my heart jump, and I'd want to plant my flag right there. I even signed a lease too fast on one of them, a beautiful little house with a view that could stop your breath. The landlord was all smiles, told me exactly what I wanted to hear, and I shook his hand before I'd even seen the place in the rain. And you know what I learned? A beautiful view and a good neighborhood are two very different things. The view was perfect, but the water pressure was a trickle. The nearest market was a long, bumpy ride away. The neighbors kept to themselves. I had my postcard, and I was lonelier than I'd been back in the snow. I'd traded one kind of quiet for another. And let me tell you, being lonely with a beautiful view is a strange sort of ache. I'd sit on that gorgeous porch at sunset all by myself and think, I came all this way for this. There had to be more to it than a pretty picture. So how do you find the right village before you ever land? Is that even possible from the other side of the world? It is. And here's where it started to click for me. For months, I did it the way everybody does. I hunted online, scrolled listings till my eyes went blurry, comparing photos of houses I'd never set foot in, trying to read a whole town from 6 blurry pictures and a rental price. I told myself I was being careful. Really, I was just guessing from 4,000 miles away and hoping. And that, right there, was my mistake, the one that cost me most of my first year. And that's exactly why I sat down and put every one of those hard-won lessons into a little guide I call OnewayGuide. Everything I wish somebody had handed me before I got on that plane, the real neighborhood questions to ask, how to talk to a landlord so you don't get talked into a bad lease, the day-to-day reality nobody puts in a listing, and even where to find the retiree filing help for the visa forms. It's the whole shortcut to finding your right village before you ever step off the plane, instead of wasting a year the way I did. If you want it, the link's down in the description, because here's the truth, I had to learn the slow way. No website was ever going to teach me what I actually needed to know. A listing can show you a kitchen. It can't tell you if the man next door will wave you over for dinner, or which landlord plays fair, or whether the water runs when you turn the tap. You just can't feel a neighborhood through a laptop screen. You have to stand in it. That was the moment everything shifted for me. I realized I'd been trying to solve a people problem with a screen, and a screen was never going to have the answer. So I closed the laptop, stopped scrolling listings, and did the one thing no website could ever teach me. I started walking, and in a quiet town near Dumaguete, I pulled up a stool at a little roadside coffee stall where a woman named Perla was about to tell me everything the internet never could. Perla. She set a steaming cup of coffee down in front of me at that little roadside stall, and for a solid hour that woman, who'd lived in this town her whole life, just talked. Not about views, about the water pressure, which market days were best, which landlord was fair, and which one wasn't. And sitting there, coffee in hand, it finally hit me. You don't learn a village from a listing. You learn it from its people. She told me the water ran strong in the mornings but got a little shy by late afternoon, so you fill your buckets early and you never think about it again. She told me the fish came in fresh on a Tuesday and a Friday, and that the mango vendor 2 stalls down would cut you a fair price if you smiled and took your time. And she told me, quiet, leaning in a little, which fellow to rent from and which one to just walk on past. None of that is on a website. Not one word of it. If you've ever sat with a local and learned more in 1 hour than in a month of scrolling online, you already know exactly what I mean. That was the moment everything turned for me, because I'd spent my first year asking all the wrong things. I'd been staring at photos, chasing the prettiest bay, when the real question, the only question that ever mattered, was where would I actually want to wake up every morning? And you don't answer that from a laptop. You answer it from a plastic stool at a coffee stall with somebody like Perla telling you the truth for free, so I slowed down. That's the part I want you to hear, because it's the part I got wrong the first time. I stopped rushing. I checked the practical things one at a time. Calm, no hurry, the way you'd look over a used truck before you buy it. Kick the tires, ask the neighbors, sleep on it. First thing I looked at was the money, plain on the table, no guessing. A simple home near the sea, concrete walls, a little nipa roof, a 2-minute walk to the water, ran me around 18,000 pesos a month. That's the rent, for a place where I can hear the tide from my kitchen. 18,000 pesos a month for a home near the sea. Go ahead and do that math against your rent back home. Feels good, doesn't it? And it gets better, because the rent's only half the story. When I sit down at the end of the month with my power and water bill spread out on the kitchen table, and I still do it by hand, old habit, I catch myself smiling. It's gentle. It's so gentle on a Social Security check that the first time I paid it, I thought I'd read it wrong. Back in the States, that same check always felt like it was running out the door before the month was through. Here it stretches. Here it breathes. And that breathing room, that's not a luxury. That's peace of mind you can feel in your chest. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, because I thought it too. What about the paperwork? What about the visa? Doesn't a fellow need some kind of special permission to just live here? You do. And I want to talk about it plainly, because this is where folks get scared for no good reason. There's the SRRV retirement visa with the required deposit, and I'll be honest with you, the name alone sounds like a headache waiting to happen. It isn't. I promise you it isn't. A good buddy of mine, a retired school teacher from Ohio who'd been here 2 years longer than me, sat me down over a cold beer and said, "Look, don't treat it like a hurdle. Treat it like a small assignment. Do your homework once, do it clean, get the deposit sorted up front, and you're done thinking about it." And he was right. You put in the required deposit, you get your papers in order, you plan it out nice and neat before you ever land, and after that, the renewals, they run smooth as anything. Last time mine came up, I handled the whole thing over a cup of coffee, no sweat, no gray hairs, one small assignment at the start, years of quiet after. And that, right there, is the whole heart of what I want you to carry away. A little homework before you come buys you years of peace of mind once you're here. That's it. That's the secret nobody put in a brochure for me. Not luck, not being rich, just asking the right people the right questions and doing your small assignments early so you can spend the rest of your days doing exactly nothing in particular. Because here's what all that quiet homework actually adds up to. It adds up to a life. A real one. Let me paint you the ordinary Tuesday. The colorful jeepneys go rattling past my gate in the morning, all painted up bright, horns tooting, hauling folks off to town. I walk down to the wet market and the whole place smells of tropical fruit, ripe mango, jackfruit, those little bananas sweeter than anything in a stateside store. Perla waves at me from her stall. The fish are laid out shining on the ice, and there's this soft breeze coming in off the bay, off the water, the same breeze every single morning, just brushing past you like the day itself is in no hurry. That's the thing the numbers can't show you on paper. The 18,000 pesos, the gentle bill, the visa filed clean, those are just the doorway. What's on the other side of that doorway is the breeze, the fruit, the jeepney rattle, Perla's coffee steaming on the counter. The math isn't the point. The math is just what lets you afford the point. I settled in slow, one calm week at a time. Learned which vendor to buy from. Learned to fill my buckets in the morning like Perla told me. Learned the names of the folks at the corner store, and every evening I'd sit out front with a cup of coffee and watch the light go soft over the water, and I'd think to myself, this is working. This is actually working. The homework paid off. The plan held. But here's what I didn't know yet. Here's the part I couldn't have planned for if I'd tried. All of it. The hour with Perla, the honest rent I could say out loud without wincing, the visa laid out clean, all that careful, unhurried preparation. It was quietly building toward something. Toward one evening I never saw coming. I thought I'd already found my dream village. I thought settling in was the whole story. I was wrong. Because settling into a place and knowing deep down that it's home, those are two different things. And I hadn't crossed that line yet, because all that calm homework was quietly building toward one evening I never saw coming. My second week in the village, the family next door, the Ramosis, waved me over across the warm sand, and the sun was just starting to drop orange over the bay. So I walked over, barefoot across the warm sand, not knowing a single soul's name yet, my heart doing that little flutter it does when you're the new fellow in town. And there they were, the Ramosis, the whole family gathered around a small fire right there on the beach, the flames snapping and popping, the light going gold on every face turned my way. The father, his name was Rick, put a plate in my hands before I could even get a proper hello out. Fresh fish, caught that same afternoon off a little outrigger boat, grilled right there on the beach over the open flame. Nothing fancy about it, just the fish, a scoop of rice, a squeeze of calamansi over the top, and a little dish of soy sauce to dip. But I'll be honest with you, I have eaten in fine restaurants back in the States that couldn't hold a candle to that plate. There's something about food cooked over a fire by the water, handed to you by people who are just plain glad you came. And the kids, oh, the kids were the best part. 3 of them running down to the water's edge and back, laughing at something only kids ever find that funny, kicking up little sprays of seawater in the last of the daylight. Every few minutes, one of them would trot over and press something into my hand. A piece of grilled fish, a slice of mango so sweet it near about made my eyes water, like I'd been sitting at that fire my whole life, like the empty chair had been waiting for me all along. That's the part I keep coming back to. Nobody made a fuss over the stranger. Nobody quizzed me or sized me up. They just folded me right in, passed the plates around, poured me something cold, asked me in that gentle, easy way of theirs where I was from, and when I said Ohio, Rick just nodded like it was a town down the coast. The grandmother, sitting a little back from the fire, smiled at me the whole night and never said a word of English, and somehow we understood each other fine. And then the evening did what evenings do out here. The sea breeze came in soft off the water. You can feel it change right around dusk, cooler, gentler, carrying the smell of the fire and the fish and the salt all mixed together. The chatter got low and easy. The first stars came out over the bay, one, then a handful, then more than a man could ever count. Somewhere down the beach, a little radio was playing an old song, tinny and sweet. I sat there in a plastic chair with the sand cool between my toes, and I felt something settle down in my chest that I hadn't felt in 30 years. 30 winters I'd spent back home, watching that same gray sky, shoveling that same driveway, wondering quietly if a warmer and gentler life was really out there for a fellow in his mid-60s. And here I was, palm trees at my back, a fire in front of me, a family that had known me for all of an hour, treating me like blood. Then I looked up, and there it was. The sun, dropping orange over the bay, big and slow and in no hurry at all, the way everything moves out here, spilling that warm copper light clear across the water until the whole surface looked lit from underneath, like the sea was holding on to the day as long as it could. Even the kids went still for a moment, even they stopped for that. And I knew, all the way down, in a place that words don't quite reach, I was home. Not, this'll do for now. Not, this is a nice enough spot to try for a year. Home. The real kind. The kind you don't so much go hunting for as finally recognize when it's sitting right there in front of you, handing you a plate of fish and pulling up a chair. Picture it for a second. That's your sunset over your bay in the village you finally chose. Can you see it? Because I promise you, it's closer than you think. Now, remember that one question I told you about a while back? The whole secret of this thing. Not, where's it pretty? Pretty is easy to find. Pretty is everywhere out here. The real question, where would I actually want to wake up every single morning? Well, that night on the beach with the Ramoses, the fire dying down to coals, the breeze soft on my arms and the stars thick overhead. That was the answer. This beach, this village, these people, it had been the answer all along. I just had to walk far enough and ask honest enough to finally arrive at it. And I want to be straight with you now, the way I'd want a friend to be straight with me. I am not up here trying to sell you a dream. I'm really not. The palm trees, the sunsets, the fire on the sand, all of that is real, every bit of it. But it isn't the reason I've told you any of this. The reason is a whole lot simpler than that. I just hate the thought of you making the same early mistakes I made. Chasing the postcard spots, signing a lease too fast on a place with a beautiful view in a lousy neighborhood, learning the hard way what a quiet afternoon with a lady named Perla and a cup of coffee could have told me in an hour. Those mistakes cost me my whole first year. And the thing is, they are so easy to skip. You don't have to fumble your way through it the way I did. Because here's what 4 years down here has taught me, plain as anything. Finding your dream village was never about luck. Not once. It was about one right question and a little calm homework done before you ever step off the plane. The coffee with Perla and all she knew about that town. The rent looked at plainly. Around 18,000 pesos a month for a simple home near the sea, gentle as anything on a social security check. The retirement visa planned out clean and early, not as some big scary hurdle, but as one small assignment at a time. None of it was hard, folks. It just had to be done in the right order, with a cool head and a warm cup in your hand. So here's what I'd love to leave you with tonight. If you have spent one too many winters staring at that same gray sky, shoveling that same driveway, wondering if a warmer, gentler chapter is really out there for someone in their 60s, I'm telling you, from this porch it is. Trade those gray winters for palm trees. for mornings by the sea, for a fire on the beach with people who'll fold you in like you were always meant to be there. Take your time with it. There's no rush, and there never was. Ask the right questions, the honest ones, the ones about daily life and neighbors and the landlord, not just the pretty ones. And go into it with excitement, not with fear. If a quiet spot by the sea is the dream you keep circling back to, the one that just won't leave you be, then let this be the little push you've been waiting for. Yes, it's a big step. I won't sit here and pretend otherwise. Pulling up your roots in your 60s and moving clear to the far side of the world, that takes a bit of nerve. I know it does, but it is doable. Ordinary folks do it all the time. Folks with a fixed income and an open heart and just a little bit of planning tucked in their back pocket. That preparation, that calm little bit of homework, really is the only thing standing between you and all of this. The fish on the fire, the breeze coming soft off the bay, neighbors who feel like family by your second week in town. So take your time, do your homework, nice and easy, no stress about any of it. And whenever you're ready, whenever that day comes for you, come on out and find your own village. I'll keep the coffee warm for you.